Here are some wardrobe upgrades that actually make a difference. Over the years, I have learned that just because you upgrade doesn't mean it's better. The designer items, the more expensive items, so many of them failed. And I've talked extensively about this on my YouTube channel. But for today's video, I wanted to talk about some things where when I upgraded, they actually made a big difference. Whether it's because they had really intricate details that made it feel more special, whether it's because the quality is better so it lasts longer in my wardrobe, or whether because the design is just much more intentional, these items were actually worth the upgrade, whereas a lot of items are not. A word of caution before we get started though. Never upgrade to a designer item or to a more expensive item hoping it would be better. You always need to know what you're looking for and then upgrade. Is it a thicker fabric? Is it more detailing? Is it a more cropped silhouette? Whenever I upgrade to designer hoping it would deliver something, it always leaves me disappointed. My first upgrade is probably the most dramatic, but I went from Scandi modern basics to more intricate, more detailed, more feminine clothing. This really elevated my style because suddenly I had clothing that really felt like me, and I wanted to wear and repeat for much longer in my wardrobe. This is about personal style above all else. It's not to say this intricate feminine look is better, it's just that when I stepped away from this look into my own style, it had huge upgrades to my wardrobe. I'm also gonna say that I felt like this was an upgrade for me because this is the easier route to go. I find that these pieces are readily available, I can get nice shirts, nice trousers, from every store I go to. So it's easy to buy into this look. But for this look, I had to search a lot harder. So spending the time to really find those pieces that were more intricate, more feminine, that aligned more to my style, made a huge difference to my wardrobe. This extends to basically every single item in my wardrobe. From t-shirts to trousers to skirts and dresses. Everything has transitioned out of this Scandi minimalist vibe into something more aligned to my style. We're starting broad, but we're gonna get more detailed from here on. Second thing that was 100% worth the money is upgrading all of my t-shirts. So I would say over the last 2 years or so, I've upgraded my t-shirts. There used to be a range of styles in my wardrobe. We had big V-necks, we had boat necks, we had big sleeves, we had very oversized silhouettes, and I've upgraded them all to basically a more fitted, more classic style. I cannot express how much I love Uniqlo t-shirts. There are 2 styles I love, and I have multiples of these styles in different colors. I wear these, I want to say like 3 to 5 times a week, not always as like the main piece in the outfit, but just layered underneath other stuff. These are staples I love because I just find the fit really flattering and they never interfere when I'm layering with them. The other upgrade would be going from that t-shirt style to a pointel t-shirt. Pointel t-shirts are just so delicate, they're so feminine, they're so intricate, and this is a huge upgrade for my personal style. I love to wear these, they make everything more feminine. For my own style, it just aligns so much better than these oversized t-shirts did. You can see how if you have feminine style, these pieces are just so much more aligned. If you don't have feminine style, you want to look for the details that is going to align it to what's going to make you feel best every day when you wear those simple t-shirt pieces. It's currently winter in Sydney, so I've been wearing knitwear every day. In this category, because I also started knitting, I have made some huge upgrades over the last couple of years. Instead of always going for loose, shapeless knits, things like the Gaspard, things like the Barry, these were knits I used to love. They're really soft, they're airy. However, they don't look good over many years. A year later, 2 years later, they're not gonna hold their shape that well. So I've upgraded from these loose knits into more tight, more dense knits. There are knits where they're a little bit more dense, more structured, and you can just tell they're gonna hold their shape so much better. I have worn and loved this for years and years. It's an upgrade because it's more structured, it's denser, it holds its shape better. I think there is pretty minimal difference in price, but it's just a much better quality. This realization has also come out of me knitting over the last few years and really being able to see as I create things what different fibers do. So I would say if you want something lower maintenance that's going to last longer, try to opt for something a little bit more dense, a little bit more structured, or at least something that has that reinforcing around the neckline, around the sleeves, to hold its shape. I no longer buy things like this, and I'll upgrade always to this. The Betty cardigan from Cezanne is probably one of my best purchases ever, whether that's in navy, whether that's in black. And you know it's good because my mum also has 2 in her wardrobe now on my recommendation. Actually, I purchased both for her, but she loves it as well. And I would not recommend something to my mum unless it was tried and tested in my wardrobe. A lot of wardrobe upgrades can be a little bit more expensive in the moment, but sometimes if they're a good upgrade, they can even out over time. So something that is a pretty major upgrade is going from gold plated, gold vermeil, into more solid gold. This one is a bit more nuanced because not everything you can upgrade. I think these earrings, if I were to upgrade them to solid gold, they would cost me like $5,000-$10,000 because they're so chunky. They're also an event piece, so I don't need them in a solid material. I'm not wearing them every day. On the other hand, all my finer pieces that I wear every single day, these pieces in plated or vermeil are usually not cheap. And the cost to upgrade them is not as drastic as it would be for these earrings. So my everyday daintier pieces are 100% worth the upgrade from vermeil and plated to solid material. I always recommend that instead of buying new solid jewelry, to go vintage or antique. There are so many options to choose from. The prices are much better. And if you ever wanted to sell it or to change it up, you can basically sell it at the price you're buying it for, if not more. So for me, it's definitely the better option. And the designs to me are also more interesting. I wanted to share with you where I look for vintage antique pieces, so I'll link it down below if you'd like to have a look through. A very practical upgrade I've made is going from more delicate footwear into more sturdy, a little bit more chunkier styles. I used to have the worst time with shoes. I would buy shoes, they would be from nice brands, they would fall apart way too quickly. And it's because my lifestyle is just not compatible with those delicate, like thin sole, minimal strap shoes. They just don't work. They're designed for someone who does a lot less walking than I do. So I made the upgrade to sturdier footwear. There needs to be some substance in the sole. There needs to be a little bit more in the shoe to hold my foot in, and it can't just be this really minimal one strap situation. I really like these shoes from Balzac. I actually think they may be sold out, but I like that they have the minimal look, but there's actually a decent amount of shoe on the sides that holds my foot in. So it's deceptive with the straps, it looks delicate, but it's not as delicate as it looks. And then the other upgrades have been all about sturdier, chunkier loafers. These are such great alternatives to always wearing a sneaker for me, and they're comfortable, they're easy to walk in, they last a long time because of the sturdier design of these shoes. So going sturdier, going a little chunkier is the answer, and it's the upgrade I just need to do for my wardrobe to make sure my clothes and my accessories last. If I buy a delicate shoe, I need to know that it can't be for every day. It can be an occasion shoe, I can wear it once every so often, I can wear on weekends, but it can't be that everyday shoe, otherwise I will be disappointed. As someone who 100% dresses for herself and often prioritizes comfort as well, something I love are good lounge pieces. So because of just how often I am in these pieces, a big upgrade that was worth it to me is going from boring lounge pieces, like very standard silhouettes and colors, into slightly more elevated designs within loungewear. This is a section that makes me feel my best on the everyday. I really enjoy elevated loungewear, often a little bit more sculptural or designed. I really love these Everlane sweatpants. These have a barrel leg shape, they're a little bit more sculptural, a little bit more cool than your average sweatpants. This upgrade has made my worst day outfits that little bit more chic. And honestly, I'm in these worst day outfits pretty often lately. I've been getting ready to move, so sweatpants and like a really basic top is what I've been wearing all week. And I still really love the outfit because of the pants. On the other side of things, I really like the basic silhouette of these aloe lounge shorts. I don't know if it's a chunkier waistband, if it's the length of the short, if it's the elasticated design. I don't know what it is about it, but I feel like these are a little bit more elevated than my usual lounge pieces. I'm definitely not in that time where I want really nice going out outfits, where I want to impress everyone. I'm definitely about spending money on those everyday loungy pieces that I look and feel my best in, that elevates my everyday while keeping me comfortable in my clothes. Another brand in this category is Colorful Standard. I have this orangey red sweatshirt from them. I also have this blue sweatshirt from them. I went to this store in London and I just love the incredible colors that they do. Every so often, I will upgrade a clothing item just because the fit is more cropped. This goes from tops to dresses to pants, especially pants, to shorts. And whenever I find a style that is more cropped, it seems to fit me exactly as it should, I will splurge on those pieces. A really good example is this J. Crew cashmere sweater. In Australia, to buy J. Crew, it's so much more expensive than in the US. But I did splurge on this item because the crop fit was just perfect. Compared to Uniqlo, compared to other brands, the cashmere quality is nothing very different, but it's all about the fit of this item, and with knitwear, obviously you can't tailor it, you can't adjust it. So it felt worth it to me to get the fit right and have the length be right on me. If you're tall, this also applies, just in the opposite direction. I recently took a look at the J. Crew website. I feel like they're really good at doing cropped pieces and just having those pieces that are a little bit more suited if you happen to be more petite like I am. This blouse I would not usually get for this price, but if it's cropped and it fits perfectly and it's designed for someone a little bit shorter, then these are pieces I always feel like are worth it because I end up enjoying them so much more in my wardrobe. Styling it becomes more fun, it looks better, it's usually just worth it when I make that upgrade. Something I find extremely annoying is when every single brand seems to be using the same print and pattern. So something I find worth the upgrade is when I go from prints that I don't really love to a print that I 100% am in love with. And I usually feel like I have to go to certain brands to find these prints. So let me give you some examples. I'm in love with these dainty, very feminine, very sweet florals. They're nothing groundbreaking, they're quite simple, and yet it can be quite hard to find. I recently gushed in a Uniqlo video about this blouse. It's just got the prettiest blue pattern, and I was so happy to find this piece. This feels like such an upgrade from just the kind of floral where it's either too busy, it either doesn't feel very intentional, or I've just seen it too many times. I love this floral for the simplicity of it, and yet it's actually quite hard to find. The same thing goes with dresses from brands like Dowen, Christy Dawn. There's an Australian brand called Oak Meadow that I really like, and they excel at their prints. It's often hand blocked versus maybe digitally printed, and they're just the most beautiful florals. They're very simple, but I just find it extremely charming in the design. I really love paisley, and I find the right paisley very hard to come by. So I love this Owen skirt because of the print, and I also have these mango scarves in this paisley that feels extremely special. I think a good print is worth the upgrade because they're one of those pieces that makes your wardrobe. They often stand out in an outfit, and a good one is hard to come by. So this section I love upgrading, and it makes, to me, as someone who loves prints, a big difference. If you're ever wondering what the difference is between like a very expensive dress where they're charging a small fortune, it's usually the fabric. Fabric can get very expensive, especially if the print is like hand blocked, hand dyed, stuff like that. And with more expensive fabrics, whether that's for dresses or as I'm learning furniture, upholstering, stuff like that, it makes a huge difference how that print was made. Sometimes prints are actually drawn by someone and then they get brought to life. Other times they're digitally created, and a lot of this factors in to the pricing. I would much rather upgrade a print in my wardrobe versus a basic, because I guess I can see the difference a little bit more clearly. But that being said, there are a lot of pieces from Mango, from Uniqlo, from different brands where I just fall in love with the print. And I feel like the print aligns with my style, which I feel like is the most important thing at the end of the day. Probably one of the easiest upgrades in my wardrobe that has made the biggest difference is adding texture. So in the past, I shopped a lot at Everlane and I would say Uniqlo, and that was the majority of my wardrobe. I was also always gravitating towards cotton towards silk and towards linen. And these are all fabrics I still love today. But what it meant was that my outfits often felt pretty flat in texture from head to toe. Yes, these are 3 different textures, but they all kind of feel a little bit smooth, a little bit flat. When I started bringing in rougher, slightly heavier textures that had really good contrast to these natural fibers, this was the best upgrade I ever made. So boucle tweed jackets, boucle tweed accents, things like suede, things like croc embossed leathers, all of these heavier textures, they can elevate every single outfit you wear. Pattern is also a really good one that I often go back to. Even jewelry. Jewelry has texture. Sometimes you'll have things that are more brushed, more shiny, and these different finishes really adds to an outfit. I always ask myself the question, what can I add to my wardrobe to make sure every single outfit is using texture? And because I often start with cotton heavy clothing pieces, it would mean having texture in my accessories, in my jewelry, in my handbag, in my outerwear. These are my favorite places to add in that texture, knowing how I dress and the kind of pieces that I wear the most. Especially in periods where my style is more simple, especially when I'm not wearing as much color, not wearing as much print, texture becomes the most important thing to bring together an outfit. This week, as I get ready to move, I've worn some of the worst outfits ever, but even just incorporating texture has made these outfits, which are pretty terrible, better. The final upgrade for today is in my beauty routine. The upgrade really comes from me doing so much more research this year before I purchase anything, making sure that product was going to work for me. I started by looking at my existing routine. I started by thinking about which products I'm really happy with, which products I feel like I'm not, why I'm not happy with it, and then going out to search for products that would improve this routine. Whereas in the past, I feel like I was just buying bestsellers, I was buying popular items, new releases, without really prioritizing my routine and the way I use products and the products that look good on me. I really love this Chanel lipstick. It's a lipstick with the color on one side and the gloss on the other. Very long lasting, but I really love this shade. It's in Tender Beige. Something I really like are fragrances, and especially this one. This is Diptyque Orpheon. I've used about half a bottle of this. One of my favorites all time. Something I decided I really love and I didn't need to spend a ton on is this BB cream. Misha BB cream. I think I used this 10 years ago and I've come back to it. It works, in my opinion, as well as the Chantecaille I was using, except that thing was so expensive. With lip liners, I'm not super fussed on the texture, so I use this Clio Velvet Lip Pencil in Coffee Brown. It's a little bit more affordable than like a Charlotte Tilbury, and I feel like it gets the job done just as well. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I think that in every wardrobe, what is worth it as an upgrade is going to be slightly different. So I would love to know, what is the single best upgrade in your wardrobe? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week. Bye.